All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this special interview with Ed Varnell, and I'm David Lasby. We are colleagues, I guess is the right word, at Boss Rush Games, co-enjoyers of video games and all things Zelda. For this month at Zelda Dungeon, we were looking to do a bit more in honor of Black History Month. And we specifically wanted to think about the important voices and content from people of color in the gaming community. And so I'm really glad that Ed agreed to do an interview today. And it's a privilege to interview Ed. You're a friend and an accomplished podcast host, a writer. Just before the show today, we were talking about articles that you're writing right now, and just an awesome content producer at Boss Rush Games. So thanks for joining me today, Ed.
Thanks for having me. I am truly honored for this moment to have me happening.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. We got some questions for you today that we're just excited to hear what you have to say. So when did you first get into video games, and what has sustained your passion for playing over the years, Ed?
So I got into video games started in 1985. There was a place called Aladdin's Castle in my local mall, and it was where all these arcade machines and even pinball was at. And I would just go in, my mom would give me $1 while she's shopping at JCPenney, and I would go in and I would play all these different kinds of games from Japan, and I just fell in love with it. And when my cousin got a Nintendo before I got one, that's all I could just think about, like learning Mario and stuff. And we had an Atari 2600 at the house, apartment at that time. And I remember playing Pac-Man, and remember playing this game called War and stuff like that. And even Mario Brothers, like Nintendo, that was the first kind of Nintendo game that I played on a different console before they made their own console playing stuff. So, and then just throughout the years, my passion for games has consistently stayed there, because reading Electronic Gaming Monthly, writing on oneup.com, and now meeting different friends and people around the world who has that same passion that for me, it kept me connected to games. And it definitely, in a sense, fixed all the problems that I had in the past, because I didn't have no one to talk about games with. Now with social media, I have so many lanes to talk about games with and everything. So, but yeah, that I guess that's the answer.
Yeah. So you mentioned that while your mom was shopping, at the mall at JCPenney's, you went off to the arcade, with your $1. Did you see any other people there regularly that you got to know, or was it kind of just your own thing?
It was unless it was my brother, it was nobody that I knew. Like, the arcade was the place of that was our online gaming. That was our social media and everything, because you, regardless of what age you were going to be working with somebody, or you was going to be challenged by somebody. Sure. And so the level of skill play was there, and one would make you better. One would make you realize that, you are definitely out of the league. But if you learn and talk to people, you will find out how better you can be. You can become. Trust me, Street Fighter helped me a lot with that and everything. And I never took a loss serious in an arcade game. It was always, okay, when I come back, I now know what to do, and I will become better.
It sounds like you took some life lessons away from that beyond just playing at the arcade.
Oh yes. Yeah, because it was a thing definitely as a kid for me that, like, I was smart in school. I was able to be able to handle any challenge in real life at school and stuff. But video games gave me a different kind of challenge that I'm like, okay, I have the skills, but I need to up my skills. I need to, learn from these patterns and stuff, because I know I could beat something and get through it. I just need to put in the work to make my skills better to overcome the challenge.
That's really interesting that you say that, the idea that, yes, you felt smart in school, but this was a different kind of challenge and a way to work hard and feel successful. That actually brings me a little bit into my next question. So, a 2015 study from Pew Research Center found that 89% of Black teens and 69% of Hispanic teens play video games, the highest numbers for any demographic. So beyond the fact that video games are so enjoyable, something you and I both agree on, I wonder if there's a deeper significance to these numbers. So in your personal experience, have games played a meaningful role in your life beyond entertainment? And then just, obviously acknowledging that you can't and shouldn't have to speak on behalf of the experiences of others. What do you believe these numbers speak to?
I think these numbers kind of speak to finally recognizing that gaming is just not for one particular race. It's actually for all. And there's been so many people gaming for years in different races. Regardless of what neighborhood you lived in, there was something always there. Like there's been Black fans of role-playing games. There's been Hispanic people who like strategy and things like that. There have been women gamers who like first-person shooters and stuff. It was just that in the past we didn't have social media or a area or community to express those things. It's the anime bubble in the sense where anime was so low key that you had to go to different places to pay $80 to get a 2 episode of Rama half and stuff. And it was just like there are so many people who love this stuff that you wish that it was a bigger community and stuff. Now gaming kind of picked up, yes, for 2015, but gaming has always been there. Going back to the anime reference, like when it hit actually 2000, which is a weird thing. I had bought my first DVD player and I started getting more anime and everything, and the community for anime just blew. You started seeing so many people cosplaying. You start seeing so many people talking about anime, and the same thing happened to games. You started seeing more people doing more than just Mario or Princess Peach, doing cosplayers from Fatal Fury, doing stuff from Metal Slug, like SNK. Like no one knows about the SNK history and stuff. So it's just like I think recognizing people from different races in this amount of time that they also love games. It's just been there. It's been there. It's just the outlet to get that recognition wasn't there or anything.
Yeah, I I totally hear what you're saying, and that definitely raises some questions when I think about representation in social media, which we'll get to in a moment. I want to think just about games themselves, though. I do wonder, and you tell me if I'm off base here, but I do wonder how much video games offer an opportunity to live out some of our ideals here in the United States. This idea of a meritocracy that, hard work gets you, you earn whatever you work hard towards.
Yeah.
You mentioned working so hard to be good and to have a skill at those arcade games. And I wonder if video games provide a more neutral setting for people to really be themselves. I don't know. What do you think about that idea?
I think video games allows you to be yourself. There's no judgment. There's no, oh, you suck because you got a game over anything. It's kind of just like, this is where you stand at, and all you got to do is learn, put in the work to learn to be better and stuff. And I think when it comes to real life, is that when you start stuff, me and Query, my other co-founder of Boss Rush, we've talked to people who are wanting to get into podcasting and stuff, and we were just like, you're not going to be perfect when you start doing stuff. You have to learn and over time, while learning, you become better at it. You're not going to knock anything out. Your first episodes, your first writing, your first game experience is going to be, uh, um, I want to say, I can't. I want to say garbage, but I can't say
There's a
that.
learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. It's not going to be good when you get into stuff, but when you stay there and you learn, you take the pros and you take the cons. The cons will always help you than the pros.
Mhm.
uh and with games, those cons of you not being a good player at something doesn't say that you're not good. It's just that you can work at this and become better and learn it. And once you learn it and you have that experience, then you can go off and teach others. Trust me, my writing in the past is um, questionable content. It's very questionable content. And because my writing, I didn't have an editor or anything. My thing was just like, I want to write this, I want to put it out, these are my thoughts, and then I go back and look at it and just be like, I got so many errors, this line don't make no sense. And even
Mhm.
sometimes when I try to edit my own stuff, it's not good, it's still not good. But it was the first time doing it. It was the first time talking about games for other people to see. You got to start somewhere, and when you start, it's not always going to be good. And I think with games is that when you start playing video games, you're going to get better at it. And when you're starting stuff in real life, it's scary, but if you work at it, you'll be better at it.
So it seems like too, then video games, much like real life, gives you a chance to work and improve, but maybe there's a little element of safety with the
Mhm.
ability to experiment and get better in games, whereas in real life, it feels a little bit scary sometimes.
Yeah, like I tell people that the reason why story and narrative and reading in games is important over voice acting is that a lot of Americans have a problem reading.
Mm.
And when it's hard for people to be like, well, I don't want to read this whole text thing. I'm like, no, this reading is helping you with your proficiency. I think that's
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Um your reading comprehension is that it's making you it's making you feel smarter. It's helping you to realize words that when you're speaking it, you just don't repeat the same thing over and over. Your vocabulary grows than,
Hmm.
than what you have at that time being. A certain occupant in the White House is proof enough about that, on how that vocabulary is so small that when you're playing something like Final Fantasy, where you're playing something um like Devil May Cry, or a game that has you do a lot of reading and stuff, you get to learn more. You get to be like, oh, I never knew about this word. I think that's why I like playing a lot of Japanese games, because there's a lot of Japanese that I don't know. And if I can learn it, I maybe have a hard time pronouncing it. But if I can learn it and get the sounds and stuff, it helps me.
Hmm.
And I think that's what some games can do for people.
I think that's a really great point, Ed, and I can definitely think about my own kids and that their reading has improved dramatically from playing games as well. And I think even my own childhood, I didn't have anybody to read the games to me, then so I was like trying to figure that out myself. So yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up, and as a teacher, I think that resonates with me as well. So. Thank you, Ed. Well, I want to move on to the next question, which I know is something you're passionate about as well, with podcasting and being online. In the early years of video game culture in the United States, gaming was perceived largely as a white space. Furthermore, white folks have been significantly overrepresented in terms of content producers, streamers, and media personality, with women, gender nonconforming, and people of color only recently seeing an increase in representation. What pressures historically excuse me, what pressures do people from historically marginalized groups face in the gaming community today? Have you experienced any of these pressures in your career as a content producer and in your lifelong participation of gaming culture?
So let me start with speaking about minorities, nowadays, and any pressure. A lot of people think that it's all about, getting recognition, having high numbers, and if that's going to give you a deal or make you famous or something like that. Um, I think that's good for people who want to do that and who want to pursue that. I think sometimes a lot of that gets misrepresented. That if you're going to do it, make sure that you're having fun. Because if you're just doing this to get attention, you have to work so hard to keep that attention up, and it's not always guaranteed that you're going to get it. I stream on some retro games, and I stream some odd kind of games, like, I'm still playing Mega Man, I'm still playing Ikaruga from Treasure, I'm playing Castlevania and Contra and stuff, and trying to show different things that, you don't have to play one certain genre, because what I love is interacting with people, and seeing them. This is my game skill. Yes, I got died by a simple shot and everything, but guess what? I'm doing the game without the Konami code. I'm doing the game that's like literally not in anybody else's wheelhouse. That's very niche stuff, and that's more important to me. Like, there's no stress or anything about that. I get to just do whatever I want to do, and I think a lot of minority streamers should kind of recognize that, do this for fun, do this for fame. I mean, don't do this actually for fame. If your community grows and you strive that, make sure that you take time for yourself about it, and stuff like that. Um, as for me personally, um, I for me personally, I'm not a big streamer or anything like that. I love doing podcasts. I love creating content, and I love writing and putting my work out there. I love doing reviews. For some people, they feel like I upset because of my text and stuff. And I was when I heard this question and I was thinking about it, I was just like, all of this comes from uh talking from the outside,
Mm.
where everybody don't need to be on the same opinion and stuff. There's no challenge if, not saying that if there's no disagreement, but there's no challenge if we all agree on the same thing and move on. If I can actually get you to say something that makes you think outside the box, my job is done. You
Mm.
know, my I looked up what an Aries is, and an Aries is about creating and stuff. And so that's why I want to do so much and create so much, is because I definitely, for me being an Aries, is that my content is just like, I want to put out there, and if it get recognized, it does. If it doesn't, I'm still okay because it came from me and
Sure.
everything.
Let me ask you this, Ed. So Boss Rush Games has a motto, or sort of a code of operation of be better.
Hmm.
And know that that's something Corey has said, that he wants it to be a place where all people from all walks of life are welcome. Do you think that that's true at large in the gaming community? Is there room to grow there? And what makes Boss Rush Games so different in your experience?
The thing about the motto of "be better" is that, yes, it is a thing that we have done with so much toxicity, and we're still fighting it. As gamers, we've been seen as different things from adults and from politicians, and we're being seen different ways in our own community, and we forget what playing video games is about. It's about fun. It's about narrative. It's about enjoying it. And yes, even if there is a bad game, there's something there to talk about with other people and everything. And here at Boss Rush, we want to make sure that we respect everybody, that we make people feel welcome, that it's accepted. Yeah, we can have a disagreement or anything, but guess what? The moment you put up a cookie recipe, we're all going to the store to go buy it. We're all going to be like, oh, yes. And there's something about, like, yeah, we might disagree about Destiny, but I love the fact that you're playing Destiny and that you're getting far. Being better is just like rooting people on, making sure that they are in a safe space, that they are accepted, no matter where they come from. If your sexual orientation, your race, your disability, whatever you have in life. We want to make sure that when you come to Boss Rush Games, when you watch our content, that you're having fun, that you're part of the conversation, and that we will root you on and support you when we need to and stuff. Now, if you feel like that's not you or anything like that, or you don't like what we stand for and everything, there's way different avenues to go for to find something and content that fits you. We want to be able to provide that space for it. And like definitely for me, I'm a black bisexual gamer and everything who loves Nintendo but who's been playing games for 35 some years.
Mhm.
And I always been taught to love and respect everybody. So when I'm on Boss Rush, when I'm on any podcast that I'm on, I make sure that I do that I still respect and love people for it. Like I said, we could disagree about anything that we want to, but the moment you put up a picture of a nacho, or you talk about a book, or you got an article, or you created something, I'm doing my best to go there to make sure that I support it and show love to it, because it's not a duty or anything. It kind of shows you what Boss Rush is about.
Mhm. Let me ask you, Ed, and feel free to pass if it's not something you want to answer. But I know that having worked with you for a while, I know that you're pretty open about all aspects of your identity. I know that at a place like Boss Rush Games, it's a very welcoming and safe community. Do you feel like that's true in the larger gaming community? Do you feel like people are as well? I mean, I know you're pretty active on Twitter. Like, do you feel like people are welcoming in general? Do we have some growing to do as a game community in these ways?
It is growing. I think in a lot of communities, a lot of people are recognizing that there's so many different gamers out there, and there's so many different avenues. And if you just go there, and it's a learning experience, you got to learn why people from different walks of life love games and talk about it the way that it is. The work that we need to do, definitely with streamers, is like the racial harassment that we got to that some of us still got to deal with, the sexism that we still got to deal with, the attention that some people want, because if you could easily put somebody down and get a response from them of you putting them down, that's the attention that they want, that's the stuff that they feed on. And when you don't give them no food and you let them starve, they would do anything and everything to get that one bit of attention. And when you don't show it to them, they just go all out. And that's just like kind of showcases, like, you spend it. I tell Corey this all the time: when people spend 35 minutes to hate on something, it can't even spend 5 seconds to tell you something that they're like, their time is being wasted. I can't be online. I could be online and disagree about things with other people. I could be like, Grand Theft Auto 5 is some janky mess, but like, the numbers prove that people love that. I end up buying it. Like, I tell people that if you're going to say something about someone or something, then try to do something better, or try to do what they do. And if you can't do all of that, your words are meaningless. If you cannot stream and be able to talk about good things and have a fun and safe space, then you going onto somebody else's stream or go on somebody else's page or content saying vile and disgusting things. It just showcases that it showcases that you can't create what I create. And my creation is still on top, because from one comment, it's not going to be the 10 comments of great things that I get overshadows your one comment that you give, that you say. So I think definitely for me, being open to who I am and everything, I welcome any and every comment, because I want to have that dialogue with you. If you don't like my stuff, let me know that you don't like my stuff, but make sure that you present it in a respectful manner where we can have a dialogue. Because if you just say your stuff is garbage or your stuff is this and that that's basic to me. That's low level basic. Like, you really don't have a opinion. You just shout on something and think that wins the argument. No, it doesn't. Not to me. I'd be like, okay, it's garbage. Can I see something that you write? Because if you can't write a piece like I write, then your thing don't have no value. Like, how, like, if you write about the Last Guardian and let me see if you got the same comments. Oh, you can't even start a paragraph off? Then you don't have your words don't really have no value to me. Now, you can tell me why I'm wrong if you want to, and you did it in a respectful manner. Okay, let's have that dialogue.
Seems like you've developed the ability to block out the noise.
It's not so much developing blocking out the noise. The thing is, if you're going to say something, about my work, make sure that you have work to back it up that I could look at and see why my work is the way that it is. Because if you don't have nothing under your belt, then your, like I said, your comment is not valuable. Like, I want to see you write something. I want to see you podcast something. I want to see you draw something. Like, if you're a person that only are in the comment section and can never do no work, your stuff doesn't matter at all, always, because we are out here making work. We are making content. And guess what? The moment you make your comment, and I'm moving on, and I'm on to a new piece to work. And I'm writing something. I'm creating a different podcast episode, and I'm having fun with the people who love to have fun.
Well, let me switch gears a little bit and talk about game libraries, which is something I know that you are passionate about. I think, Ed, you've played just about every game ever published. So thinking over the massive library of games that you have played and enjoyed over the years, are there any games that spoke to your experience as a Black man in America, or any games whose narrative touched you in a meaningful way in terms of representation and being a person of color?
So, okay, so with the representation part, the only thing I can say is Axel from Streets of Rage, because he was kind of the first Black protagonist that I have ever used in the game. It was always just like a white person or Asian person or whatever. And I think when the custom creations started happening in games, I was able to customize the character to fit me and everything. The games that actually touched me over the years that I played, not everybody, like I said, I got 35 years of experience. So I have had majority of the Nintendo consoles, Sega consoles, TurboGrafx, PlayStation, Xbox, arcade, some PC stuff. I never touched the 3DO or CDI, but I know about them, so I have years of experience. I think one of the for a modern sense of a game that touched me really is The Last Guardian. I keep bringing back to that. I call that that's Studio Japan. I call that Sony's Nintendo company. And I think what touched me about it is just like the silent narrative of seeing these two people go on this journey and stuff. To represent something that kind of represents me in a way is Final Fantasy IX with Vivi, on how he was just looked at and how he kind of had self-esteem issue, trying to find out where he belonged and everything. And that kind of was me back in the day as a kid, because of my skin color, of my own race, making fun of my skin color in the way that I look. I always felt like, where do I fit in? What is my self-esteem and everything? And just seeing his journey and stuff, and being like, when you actually recognize who you are and accept it, things change. And kind of Vivi did that. I was talking to you earlier about Link, a piece that will probably be out by the time you guys see or hear this. I was talking about Link being a hero and how that representation of model that, you are Link, you are in The Legend of Zelda, you are Link who has the courage to fight all of the stuff that is thrown at you. Yes, it is a duty thing, but Link never backs down anything. And so Link to me is is that I have to have the courage to fight on, to, for anything that comes at me, I'm able to handle. And if I can't handle it, like I said earlier, I learn from it so I could be better and everything. And that's kind of what the Legend of Zelda series means a lot. I know it's part of the question, but just Link himself and thinking of that motto kind of represents me that, as a kid, that I wasn't Link, because I was still trying to find myself. But now, as an adult, I am Link. I am that hero. And when there's anything that comes on where I need to be the hero, I step up to the plate to be that hero and stuff.
Well, let me ask you this then, Ed, and definitely I want to talk more about Zelda here with the next questions that are coming up. But you mentioned that there haven't been a lot of characters over the years that were Black protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
Given that's been your experience, and you've talked about the degree to which it was meaningful when you were able to play those characters, do you think it's important that kids can see themselves in the characters in terms of what they look like? Like, how important is that? Do you think that's a direction that we're heading, in terms of improvement? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good that kids are able to play games that have different diversity in it, that, and it inspires them to lead them up into creators and form studios and be able to make the games that they want to make, that they remember and stuff. I think for me personally, it has always been the narrative. It has always been that good versus evil and everything. And when the narrative is so strong, because I am a bookhead, it was just like, yes, I am playing this character. They are making these actions. They do have these emotions and stuff, but it's this narrative that's driving it. This narrative that is connecting to me because it stands out and it means more. And if I ever need to go back to a game, sometimes it is the gameplay, sometimes it is the graphics, but it's that narrative that hits. It's that dialogue that they speak, or it's that line that is written. It's that cutscene from Chrono Trigger or something that it's just like, it's so emotional. The sacrifices that characters make and stuff. Just, there's something about that narrative that drives me, and I think a lot of people got to realize. I had this discussion. Sorry, jumping off topic. I had this discussion about God of War for PS4. That everybody's talking about, oh, the narrative is so good and it's all this and I love the story, and to me, I'm like, narrative has already been here, but because it's a game that you like, you want to take notice. You never took notice of narrative way back in the day when you played games. It was always, it's a high score, or I just want to beat this game, and that's it. It's never anything meaningful and stuff. A Boy in This Blob on Wii has a strong narrative, but because it's on the Wii and it's so cartoony and it's a remake, no one talks about it. They dismiss it. But it's just like the same narrative that's in this game can be the same strong narrative that's in God of War and everything. And I think that's what's in, as gamers, I think we need to take notice of that and stuff. Yes, it's good to see our diversity. It's good to see Black and Hispanic, Eskimo, or wherever you come from, gay, lesbian. It's good to see all of that and everything in gays, but it's also good to recognize the narrative that's driving that character. Because if you don't take notice of that, then you're just playing a game with graphics and a 3D model or 2D model.
Mm-hmm. So something we talk about when we host Nintendo Pal Block together, indie games. We talk about indie games a lot. And it seems like, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this, it seems like indie games are providing a path forward to get both that narrative and that representation in a way that AAA games aren't. Would you agree with that? What do you think about that?
100%. Indie games are the fresh fruit that we need, while some AAA is the same microwave stuff that we want to eat.
Leave it to you to have a food analogy, Ed.
And yes, that is true. The reason why is because I think a lot of AAA parties lose their sight of what made them that AAA company. It was the weird games. It was the games that was, polished, that wasn't always annual, but always gave you something different and challenging, different IPs that could, if done well, could make you make that franchise grow longer, make people fans of that company's work. Now it feels like everything from AAA has to be such a showboat to sell you on what the game is, and then when that wears off, what do you have left? Where indies are just like, we got this crazy idea and stuff, and yes, we maybe ask you for $15 or $20 to give it a try. But we think it's something that you will love, something that is going to be fresh to you and everything. And I think indies have become important than some of the AAA stuff. They could coexist, yes, but like there's no AAA studio doing anything like Greed or Yoko Islands, or something like that. There's no AAA doing stuff like Evergate, or doing Iconoclash, where they're talking about religion and stuff like that. There's not anything like AAA. AAA is just like, we're gonna show you a cutscene, don't show you no gameplay, and because we are who we are and we make this particular game, you're gonna buy it, and that's it. And that nowadays doesn't work, and that actually could give you ire from the fans nowadays.
Seems like you might be referencing a certain cyberpunk there, but we'll leave
Well,
that alone.
but you know what? It's not, to me personally. It's not even cyberpunk. It's a lot of it's if you for people who watched last year for Microsoft for Series X, a lot of people saw that stuff that were just like, this looks like stuff that's on current gen. It doesn't look like anything new. And so when stuff comes out on these new systems and they're not oppressive, it gets worse. So to be like, what are you selling me? Is it real, or is it real, or is it something to make your game look good, so when I actually get it, it's not what I expect, in a sense,
Well, Ed, I got just a few questions left for you. So, over the years, The Legend of Zelda has slowly become more diverse in its inclusion of people from all walks of life. A transformation that has matched the trajectory of the video game industry as a whole. Are there any specific ways which you wish the Legend of Zelda franchise could be more inclusive or diverse?
To actually answer this question, I don't think it needs to do anything. And the reason why I say that is because of the adventure when you're playing The Legend of Zelda. The series continues to evolve and tell different stories, use different graphics, bring in different gameplay stuff, different lore for people who search out for that. And it's such a fantasy game that there's nothing that needs to be included in it. Like, yes, if they want to put in inclusion, they want to put in diversity and stuff like that, that's all good and dandy. My thing is, I want to pick up the controller and see what you guys have for me. And that's it. And then I want to rant and rave about it with other Zelda fans, and learn from what they played and what they experienced and everything, and find out, is this your this your boss, is this your weapon, is this your dungeon, is this a scary moment, like what you think of how they used to, like, all of that matters more to me than diversity and inclusiveness. It's weird, I'm sorry to say that or anything, but I have grown up with the Legend of Zelda series, and it's always been like, what are they going to bring me? And I'm excited for what they are going to bring me. They could keep Legend of Zelda 2 Majora's Mask, but even those games brought something where I'm like, ooh, this is a sequel? What do you guys have to offer? And then I'll make my judgment when I actually play those games.
All right. Recently, you were nominated for a Podcaster of the Year award, specifically for Best Host of Color. What are you most proud of in terms of your time hosting and your accomplishments over the years?
Wow, this is a big question because I was just like I was, but I took that such as an honor. My podcasting over the years and stuff, I'm shocked, that people love to hear what I have to say and everything. I know I'm kind of different and everything, but it's something that I'm very proud of.
Hmm.
Doing optional opinion for like 7+ some years. You're working with my other friends on a different network before I came to Boss Rush and stuff, and working with Corey, is that podcasting means a lot to me, and podcasting is a way for me to get my voice out there for people to hear and talk about stuff in the industry that we don't talk about. Come talk about give answers that normally you wouldn't expect in anything. um uh and what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Just what you're most proud of accomplishing during this time, and what stands out to you the most.
Okay, so one of my proudest accomplishment is I got to actually talk to the developers of Yacht Club games, who made Shovel Knight. Like literally got to talk to them and laugh with them, and we actually had a conversation of Mega Man and Castlevania and stuff. And they are such great guys who have a passion for games. It kind of felt like, did you guys live in my neighborhood? Were you in my household? Because and that was such a big thing. Talking to Pierre Schneider from IGN was another great thing. Like that's big to me. Talking to MC Fixer, uh, with his content about Xbox. Talking to I think one of my great accomplishments is kind of like, yeah, I get to talk to some big name people and everything. But it's also just talking to different people around the world. Like I feel accomplished when I get to talk to um people who love the podcast, who have their own content, or who want to try podcasting, and talking about different games, talking about Nintendo, PlayStation, PC, Xbox, talking about Zelda, talking about treasure games, or whatever they feel like they want to talk about. That's a big accomplishment to me. It's being
Mhm.
able to talk to other people. You got my Nintendo Power Block co-host. I Every time I get to talk to them, it gets me hyped because I was just like, yes, we get to do a show. We get to talk about random things, and just it feels like I'm talking to more of my family than my friends in a sense. And I feel like that's a big accomplishment to me.
All right, one of our last questions here, Ed. When you sit down and listen to podcasts, who do you like to listen to?
Who do I like to listen to? Wow. Uh, so I do like to listen to there's a podcast called How Did This Get Made with Paul Shear and his crew. They talk about bad movies and stuff like that, and it's a comedy podcast. Listen to Bitch Sesh for it. Let's talk about all things the Real Housewives. Even though I don't watch Housewives, it's that comedy aspect about it. I still listen to IGN and Game Informer podcasts and stuff, and just other gaming podcasts. But like the comedy stuff, I love to listen to, and also another podcast, How Did This Get Played and stuff. I like to listen to Xbox Expansion Pass with Insider Ghost. I love to hear his podcast. He gets on me sometimes because I sent him he called it Nintendo related questions for an Xbox podcast. But I'm just like, no, I just like to I love to pick his brain, Luke Lore. I love to pick his brain. Even the guys at Xbox Drive, co-op mode I listen to with Todd Oxford and the Canadian. Like I listen to like some of our friends and stuff, but I'm also going out and listening to other people podcasts and stuff. Uh so but yeah, like How Did This Get Made in Bitch Sessions, I like my top ones. I like comedy stuff.
Awesome. Any final thoughts or anything you wish to share as we wrap things up?
um Thank you. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I think definitely for Black History Month, um it's a good celebration for us to learn not only about video games from Black creators or content from Black creators, but kind of going out and fighting games that have Black developers involved and stuff, and highlighting them and talking about it and stuff, or even seeing what they said about games that they grew up with and everything. It's all I always say that. Nintendo is like my lifesaver in the sense when it comes to games, because it made me a gamer and everything, and I think it made a lot of people a lot of gamers. And like I think for this month, if there's other Black creators who feel like Nintendo is, started them on their journey and stuff, I think like go research them and everything. Definitely when we got Black streamers out now, I think go ahead and go support them and stuff. Like Black History Month, yes, we could learn about the past, but let's also learn about the present and see how it leads to our future.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that, Ed. Where can people find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitter at That Retro Code. You can find me also on Twitch at That Retro Code. You can find Optional Opinion on SoundCloud. You can check me out on World 11 Podcast. And of course at BossRichGames.com. I host Nintendo Pod Block and on other various podcasts. Recap, Talk the Walk, and stuff like that. And if you guys want my Switch code and everything, just check out my Twitter page. My number is there. Also with my Xbox Live and PSN stuff. And hopefully you guys will check out in March, because by the time you guys hear this, we will be having a month discussion of the Legend of Zelda, the games. So
I'm David Lasby. This is you can find me at David Lasby on Twitter, and also this is our collaboration between Boss Rush Games and ZeldaDungeon.net, both places that I help contribute. So we appreciate everybody listening and reading today. And Ed, thanks for making this happen.
Thank you for having me.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.